In this video, I should be looking at Age of Sigmar Dominion. Hello AOS fans, Robin here, and today I have a video for you about AOS Dominion. Yes, it's here. Last summer we got the new 40k, this summer we've got the new Age of Sigmar. Seems to be how Games Workshop do these things in sort of roughly 3-year cycles. So next year probably, I don't know what we have, but it won't be either of these, and then there'll probably be a new edition of 40k. This box is completely parallel to the video I did last year about Indomitus, which was the 40k special box. They didn't do enough of those. They had to do made to order, and this box is likely to be the same, except with an important exception. So as you know, these videos I often do from the point of view of parents who know very little about Warhammer or what it is. And I have to, after the previous one I did about a game called Curse City, I have to give a little caveat here, is that Games Workshop supplies can sometimes be a little low, and they have said that if you want to get this, you've got to pre-order it. So this video will be going out around the 14th of June, and pre-order is the 19th. I think there's a 2-week pre-order period, but you've got to get your order in. So I think if you don't get your order in, you're not going to get it. That's not to say you won't ever be able to get any sort of 3rd edition box, because you will, because they did Indomitus last year. They did do some extra made to order, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that this time, because they have said on their site, get your order in on pre-order day if you don't want to miss out. So I'm pretty sure that underlining there's not going to be any extras of this box. But Curse City did sell out really quickly, so I think there's going to be fierce competition for these, which I think it's a bit of a shame. These are like the flagship boxes. Last year they did Indomitus, and then shortly afterwards, about a month or so later, they brought out 3 different size starter sets, which I have one of them just off camera here, or just on camera here, the Command Edition. And they that's the big edition, and they had smaller editions at different price points. I think this one was about £105. Indomitus went for £125, which does represent a really good price, because you get loads of miniatures. You get a limited edition rulebook. I think the rules are the same, but it's got a cover, presumably it's just a straight art cover, no titles or whatever. But you will be able to buy the rulebook separately, and it'll be about 40 quid. But these boxes do always represent good value. So if you are diving in, it's a good time to dive in. Later, this will come along. I think some sort of equivalent of the Command Edition. I'm not sure what it will be called, and that will probably have a cut down rulebook, and it's full rules but smaller, so you're not losing out. This box will be cheaper than this box. It has a bit of scenery in it as well. You know, potentially you might want to hold off if you're just getting started. If you're not just getting started, you know exactly what you've got. Games Workshop has spoiled all of this. They're going to do they've done far more detailed unboxings and detail on their videos and on their Warhammer community website. So do check that out. I'll put a link in the description below. But this is kind of my first thoughts on the box, and what I think about it. But do be aware that if you don't order this on between the 14th and the whatever it is of July when it comes out, you're not going to get it. And to be honest, I think the wait list will be so long. If anything, it's first come first serve. You're going to need to be on that day one. But don't worry, I think the core rule book will come out separately, and then you'll get some new starter sets coming along afterwards. But let's have a look under the cover, shall we? Nobody wants to do that. Right, so here we have the box. Yes, it's a big box. It's pretty heavy. I don't think it's quite as heavy as Indomitus, but I can't remember. And as is often the way, we have a little protective cover here, which has Warhammer Age of Sigmar on it, and nice picture. If you can hear thumping in the background, it's my new studio being built. It's very exciting. And then in here we have, I'll tip it up for you, we have shed loads of plastic. Yes, or garage loads of plastic. Yeah, so lots and lots and lots of grey plastic. It's not easy to build like a lot of Games Workshop stuff are. These miniatures are the new new Stormcast Eternals. Stormcast Eternals are kind of like the poster boys of Age of Sigmar. They're Sigmar's finest, but the storyline has been evolving, so that the various things have changed about how they work and things, which you can all catch up on the community website, and you're probably not that interested in for me to tell you about it, but they are new stylings, and I think they're better stylings. I think the other ones they're clearly taken, well, our Space Marines are our most popular line on Warhammer 40,000. How can we recreate that? Let's try and do it in a fantasy setting, and so this is a fantasy game for those who are completely uninitiated. Warhammer 40,000 is set in the far future, and this is set in a Tolkien-esque fantasy world. That's where it's rooted. It's moved way away from that now. It's much more wacky and weird and wonderful than the Tolkien world, but this is a fantasy-based game. These guys are knights in gleaming silver and gold armour. And they, in some ways, were swung back towards. They look a little bit more like the old Warhammer days when I used to play. When my parents would have liked a video like this, when they were kind of knights in shining armour, sort of a bit more medieval. They kind of swung back to that a little bit, which I quite like because I love that aesthetic. And then on the other side, you've got the new set of orcs. So your classic Tolkien orcs. This is like Gator's done the various spins on them. These are called the Cruel Boys, and there's some hobgoblins and things in here, and lots of fantastic beasts for them to ride on. So absolutely mega loads of sprues. There's one of the beasts that will be able to ride on. I'm going to assemble these and report back how that went. I'm terrible at assembling. I'm like the world's lowest common denominator for assembly. I mean, the miniature, again, GW's miniatures are getting better and better. I think they're lovely. The detailing on them is second to none. I don't know if you could see that, but they've got the shields there. It harks way back when to the old orcs and goblin armies when I used to play. But you've got some really funky miniatures in there, and this isn't it. If you are new to the game, this isn't it. You get this. This is just the start, because like all things in life, you get the seeds to play with, but you don't get the whole. You don't get the whole thing. There'll be already detailed new miniatures that are coming for both sides, and there's some absolutely lovely minis coming. I mean, you've got fantastic flag there. In my day, you used to make them out of toothpaste, because all the toothpaste tubes, all the miniatures were made out of metal, so you didn't really do flags. And some lovely wings. So I mean, just beautiful minis. I'm going to try and assemble them. I'm doing very bad at assembly, but I'll report back how that went. Well, I'm just going to interrupt that guy because he doesn't know what he's talking about. The models in the Dominion box, turns out, I couldn't find anywhere on the box when I was doing the unboxing. They are easy to build models, so they don't need any glue. So the bit that's going to follow in a minute about glue, possibly between where I cut it in, the bit that's just I've just said about glue, isn't strictly true. You can build these models without any glue at all. But as I said, I'm really bad at building models. I don't know what it is, whether it's my 3D spatial awareness, or I just don't take care. Even when I try and take care, I often just find I've cut the wrong bits out and trying to put the wrong bits together. So I am kind of like the worst builder of models. And these aren't the worst models I've built at all. Some of them are really great. The Oryx, the Cruel Boys, I can't remember the exact ones, but they are really quite good. I'll flash up a picture of them. They were really quite good to put together. With minimal fuss. Some of the Stormcast that I put together, and they were a little bit harder, and I found that easy to build is great because it doesn't use glue, but I'm starting to think, such as the intricate the way they interlock, and they rely quite a lot on pins that sort of slide into small holes, if you excuse the expression. Any slight misalignment and you can't fit it in, and you have to push it quite hard, and you run the risk of bending or snapping. There's quite a few spindly bits on it, so you may find, and I did find, that sometimes I wanted to cut the peg off just because it meant that the fit of the actual kind of model itself was nice and easy, but I couldn't quite line up the male and female, if you will, to actually push them together to make it fit properly. So I think you probably, even if you can technically use this without glue, I think you're going to want to use some glue, because, as I say, some of the pieces are quite hard together, some of them are quite spiky, so when you push it, it hurts. You certainly run the risk of, if you push too hard, bending and snapping a piece. So you may find some bits you just want to cut off. I found it particularly with the Stormcast shields. I just couldn't quite line them up, and if I just snipped the peg off, it just fitted against their arm much better, without a risk of bending. A couple of the arms are quite spindly, with the best to just sort of bend the arm and you push it in. So there's that, and then of course there is a couple of times I did also accidentally, because you've got loads of figures and it's quite tiring. It's a fiddly, there's a lot of concentrating. If you are using younger builders, then you're going to need to help them, because there's a lot of concentrating, there's a lot of fiddly pieces. There's little bits of similar but not quite the same, for making mistakes, cutting off. And what I did do, which is where I started at the beginning of this very long sentence or paragraph, is that occasionally you end up cutting the pegs off by mistake as well, because obviously they're generally attached to the sprue via the peg, and if you cut sort of half a centimetre too far down, then you cut the peg off. So I did twice, I think, and the ones I've built so far, I haven't built them all so far. I have to say, building them though, oh God, I don't really like building, but I found the experience frustrating at times, but the quality of the figures when they're built is just astounding, and it was really great to kind of be amassing this force. I really can't wait, hopefully, to get it on the battlefield. I don't quite know when that will be. If I paint it, it'll be forever. There's so many figures and it's so intricate, but really it's inspiring to sort of dive back into Age of Sigmar, which I haven't played for a long time. Either side, the Cruel Boys miniatures are great, and the Stormcast miniatures that I've assembled so far are great too. So that's that little comment on the assembly. I also found out, I just remember on the Stormcast, quite frustrating, the 40mm bases, I think they obviously have generic ones, they have 2 holes in. I guess for some people with big things, they have 2 pegs on their feet, but most of the Stormcasts are designed with only 1 peg, and so you end up with a hole, okay, which is fine, but then they do little bits of plastic, sort of sculpted plastic blocks and skulls and things to stick in. I've seen it, you see it quite often in their kits, but it's to stick in the holes and cover it over, so you've got no holes in the base. But they don't quite fit, or I really struggled to get them to fit in. I was driving me potty. So I think, really, I feel like maybe there's probably operational reasons why they don't. Maybe they just don't want to get confused or whatever. But I feel like bespoke bases with just 1 spot on them probably would have been helpful. I suppose with 2 spots you can potentially arrange them in different places on because they're in different places on the circle, so you can sort of put them in different places for different poses, and some poses don't fit in one of the holes, so maybe that's why. I just found it a little bit frustrating. I had to snip this bit off. Maybe they're okay, but they don't really add very much, and then put them in, and it drove me potty. But that is my quick assembly. So I haven't had time in the 2 or 3 days since I made the original video. I haven't had time to assemble them all, because they are quite complex, but they are beautiful. So back on with this. Anything I say about glue and super glue still stands. I still think you're going to need some plastic polystyrene cement, and you're definitely going to need some sprue cutters if you haven't got any. Anyway, back to the other guy. How that went. And then we've got another piece to presumably protect the other end of the stuff, and then we've got some plastic bags. Things in plastic. There'll be all sorts of rattling and stuff going on here. So I'll open that, and then we'll cut back to me. Being very excited. Oh wow, I'm so excited! Yeah, that is the first thing I've been looking at. So these are the war scrolls, they're called, kind of like the rules for each unit. So every unit that's rendered in beautiful grey plastic, you can then you get a card for, and it explains how they fight. So we've got the man skewer bolt boys, and it has all their stats and everything, and or how to play that is in the rules. So these are like the rules for the individual miniatures, and then there's a overarching rule set for the game. So it is quite, if you've not played before, it is quite confusing. Well, not confusing is the wrong word, but it's a new way of looking at things for gaming. So in traditional board games, which you may have played with your kids, you normally have the rules and the pieces, and they don't tend to do different things to each other. But in these games, each piece or each group of pieces has its own set of rules that fit in with the main rule framework, and that the set of rules for each unit or each piece is written down on one of these cards. There's quite a lot of those, look. And they've got beautiful artwork on the other side. You will find, if this is your first Games Workshop game, you'll be blown away by the level of production detail and artwork on there. You've got a full colour glossy magazine almost these days of how to assemble your miniatures. You will need to assemble your miniatures. You will need would definitely recommend a pair of plastic cutters. You can use scalpel or Stanley knife, but you're more likely to damage your fingers or worse yourself doing that. But you can get these lovely little pinchers. They're like pliers almost, but they for cutting off things off sprues. Sprue cutters is what they're called, for cutting things off sprues. Games Workshop do their own, which are a little bit expensive, but they are pretty good. But you can get any model shop will probably sell you some sprue cutters. I would totally recommend doing those, and you will need some polystyrene to make. You don't need super glue. Your children aren't going to glue their fingers together using these, but you will need some polystyrene cement to bond them, which is much more friendly. It's a bit smelly, but much friendlier to use. And as long as you don't drink it, but it does, once it's set, they're bonded forever. So be careful. But you can't slip your fingers together with it. It's a definite bonus. So you will need some polystyrene cement. You will need to cut the things off the sprues with, and you will need some paint and brushes. Perhaps we'll do a separate video about that, but to be honest, there's loads of really great videos. Games Workshop do loads. A guy called Duncan Rose does loads, so check those out rather than us doing it, because I'm not a particularly great painter. And then we've got a Start Here book. Now this is a bit of a departure from Indomitus. Indomitus was very much, this is for people who've already played the game. Because there was nothing to get you started. Now this does actually have some Start Here stuff. Now I very vocally said I didn't think it was very good. It didn't have Start Here stuff. I'm sure that's not why it's in here. I'm sure they didn't look at that video and thought, oh yeah, that's a really good idea, we'll put that in. But it's a welcome addition, and it basically has a description, so there's kind of several different ways of looking at these games. There's the gaming side, the actual how you play the game, the nuts and bolts. There's the hobby side, which is the painting and the modelling, which most people just do that, they don't even play the game. And there's a kind of one that kind of joins the two, and that's the lore side, Lore, and that is the stories behind the units and why they're fighting, what are they doing here, how was this world created, why are these gods annoyed with each other, who forgot to put the milk out, that kind of thing, or get the milk in, that kind of thing. That's all in here for the units. So it has a description of the units, the Hobgrot Slitters, the Knight Vexillor, and explains what they are and sort of how they interact and what their motivation is, I guess. So there isn't any rules in there. So although I say it's a welcome addition, it is more just a scene-setting piece of information, a story, if you will, about the motivations of the characters and why they want to beat lumps out of each other. Always good to know. So there are no get started rules. All the rules are in this behemoth. And and if you want to start beating lumps out of each other, there's probably very few better things to do it with than this book, because it is absolutely solid. As you can see, it's pure artwork on the front there. There's no core rules or Warhammer 40,000. I think this is the only way you'll get this if you buy this set. So forget it. I didn't say a price, did I? I don't actually know. It's not official. Indomitus was about £125, I think. I don't know whether you can get cheaper from resellers, third-party game shops. So do check those out. Your friendly local game shop will probably be able to do you a discount. I expect maybe it got up a little bit. Brexit, COVID, give me an excuse to whap an extra tenner on maybe. But it's £125. So you're looking at getting towards $200 maybe. For the set to a US dollars and Australian dollars and Canadian dollars. There's just too many dollars. Yeah, so you're looking at 125, 130, 135, something like that for a cost, which is a lot. This box costs you 105 and has everything you want to play with it, just less miniatures. This is obviously Warhammer 40,000, but compared with the Indomitus box, so it's a little bit cheaper, but you won't get the lovely hardback book. But it does have the advantage of actually still being available. And I'm gonna open the rulebook and I'll come back and I'll be extremely excited again. I'm not going to make the same joke twice, but this is the rulebook, and it's hefty, as you can see, and it has the rules of the game in it. Actually, a lot of it isn't the rules. If you're thinking, oh my god, my child's going to be bothering me about all those rules, don't worry, it's not all rules. There's quite a lot of introduction. So if I'm going to have a quick look and tell you, so I mean, you've got amazing pictures. You've got this amazing picture of these new kind of walking cities that are being in the new lore now. I don't know much about the new lore, as I've said, but my understanding is that the people of Sigmar, who's kind of like nominally the good guys, are going out to try and colonise and push back the frontiers of destruction, and the orcs belong to the destruction movement, if you like, which never really caught on in the art scene in the 1960s. So we've got a whole load of information about the world in which this place. So this all takes place in Immortal Realms, which is kind of like these, I can't sort of kingdoms and 8 sort of kingdoms, and it tells you all about how they interact with each other and what they're like, and there's maps and stuff. It's all very exciting. The lore of this game has really evolved in this. I think it's 6 years since Age of Sigmar first came out, and Games Workshop trashed all their old stuff and brought out this new Age of Sigmar. And it was very sort of sketchy, back of an envelope type stuff when it first came out, but now it's 6 years of evolution, I suppose, it's actually really quite rich and interesting now, and the artwork in the book is incredible. But you don't have to worry about rules until page 245, and then all the rules are over by 360. So you've got 115 pages of rules, which is quite a lot, but a lot of that is particular ways to play the game. So the Games Workshop always talk about the three ways to play. There's narrative play, where you're effectively getting together with some friends to tell a story of how this game is going to work, and there's open play, which is kind of like, I'm just going to turn up with my miniatures, you're just turn up with your miniatures, and we'll just battle it out, see what happens. And then there's matched play, which is, to be honest, what a lot of people do play and what gets talked about, and that's kind of like slightly more competitive elements of the game, where you you basically make sure you bring equivalent armies and fight them off against one another, and depending on what style of way you play, you need more or less of these rules, and that they take up 70 pages of it, just discussing that and what the different ways of playing are, because they have different campaigns and scenarios of how you might set it up to different starting places on the battlefield. You will need a battlefield to play this game, so some sort of table, probably with some scenery on, but it's all explained in the book, and Games Workshop have got loads of stuff on their website about it. So the first part of it is kind of about what the hobby is and how the different styles of play are, and then the rest, probably the biggest chunk of the book is the lore, all the different factions in the game. So you've got a chapter on the Agents of Chaos, which are the super uber bad guys. You've got the Sentinels of Order, who are kind of nominally the good guys. You've got the Bringers of Death, which are like skeletons and vampires and stuff. Really good fun. And then the Orcs and the Harbingers of Destruction. So there's a whole chapter on each section of those, and the Order one is slightly bigger than the others, but they've all got chunks of pages. So that's kind of all information about the setting and the people who live in the setting and why they beat lumps out of each other. And then you have the rules. And it's a beautiful book. Games Workshop absolutely always lavish the best. That's a lovely map. Always absolutely lavish the best artists and artwork they can find. There's going to be somewhere in here, inevitably, beautifully painted miniatures. There they are. If you saw the Indomitus box, you know what this product is. It is basically Dominion Indomitus. Doesn't take a huge leap there, does it? It's basically the same. High quality, top end product. It's going to be a good price for the amount of plastic you get in the box, with lovely models. You've seen all the models probably elsewhere, but that's it. So it is the perfect introduction to Age of Sigmar, to a fascinating evolving setting. I don't actually play this game very often because I haven't got the money nor the time to bring it to the table. It is, I would say, a young man's game. I would have loved this as a teenager, because I did have the time. I didn't so much have the money, but all of my money was my own. So I could save up for things and buy what I wanted, but I definitely had the time to play it, and bizarrely the space, which I no longer have. And just at the end, there's a cardboard insert in the box with some stands for your miniatures, and that's what's left in the box. It's a really lovely premium product, but it ain't going to be around for long. So that's really the hot take, is if you want to get into Age of Sigmar, it's perfect, but you've got to have ordered it by the release date, the 19th of June, I think it is. Because if you don't really on that day or shortly afterwards, you probably ain't going to get a copy. But the rulebook, will be around in some shape or form. There will be starter boxes soon. I'm absolutely sure of it. There's no official word of that, but I'm absolutely sure there'll be starter boxes to lure you in. And I don't know how much Age of Sigmar content we will have on the channel. I mainly play Warhammer Underworld, which is a much smaller, easier game to get into and store and all that kind of stuff. But always got a soft spot for Warhammer. It's where I started many moons ago, and this is peak iteration of it, really. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful, and if you do, like and subscribe to the channel. We try and have a lot of fun here with our gaming, and we play all sorts of things, or we try to as time permits. But so yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you soon. Maybe in the Mortal Realm, more likely somewhere in the Chasm or whatever Season 5 of Underworld is called. But we'll see you soon. Bye.